Hello everyone, this is Pranav from the product management team, and along with me I do have a senior product analyst from product management team as well, Mr. Nivas. So he'll be the organizer for this session, and I'll be the he'll be the co-organizer for the session, and I'll be organizing with the presentation carried out from me. So today, as per the topic, it is about the backup for your Windows machines. Either it could be a physical machine, mostly a physical machine, even a virtual machine of Windows is being supported now for the backup. So we are going to see how do we take a backup of your physical Windows machine or a virtual Windows machine, either a server or Windows server or a workstation. How do we take a backup using the latest version of Vembu, that is the Vembu BDR Suite version 5.0. So I believe that we can start in with the session. So before that, I just want to confirm things like this session will be mostly with the basic ground rules that only the presenter will be able to speak, whereas others will only be in the mute only mode, and then you have your Q&A session nearby. So if you have any doubts, you can raise your questions in that Q&A box. Okay. So we have a team, so they'll be answering all your questions if you could raise by. And if not answered, for example, if we don't have the time to answer, then we'll be dropping you an email with all the details of the questions that you have asked. And moreover, the recorded copy of this session will be available in a website after 24 to 48 hours from now. After the session is over, post the session from 24 to 48 hours, you will have the recorded copy of this webinar to be available in this session. So yes, this webinar is one among the series of our BDR version 5.0 release. So it will be more concentrated towards that. So again, I welcome everyone to the Vembu Backup and Disaster Recovery webinar on the Vembu Backup for Microsoft Windows. Okay. So a small intro about Vembu, which I could carry out before I start on with the session. So Vembu Backup and Disaster Recovery is a product that we sell. So Vembu has been one of the top leaders of the market for SMBs and mid-range businesses. So we have our footsteps. We have our footsteps in 100+ countries with more than a decade and a half years of experience in this backup and disaster recovery market field. With 60,000+ businesses are using our software till date. So these are our Vembu technology partners that we have partnered with for the technology-wise sharing. And these are few of our customers like NASA, Fujitsu, Kawasaki, Samsung, and much more. So who've been using our product till date. So now towards the Vembu BDR Suite. So yes, this Vembu BDR Suite, when I'm going to talk, is mostly of version 5.0. So this Vembu BDR Suite is one flagship product of Vembu, which encapsulates many product features within it. So such product features of backup and disaster recovery are as follows. So which we start with Vembu BDR Suite version 5.0, you can back up your virtual environment, you can back up your physical environment, you can have a granular backup of your virtual and physical environment, you can back up your cloud instances, and you can back up your SaaS-based application. So when I'm going to say about this, there are the subdivisions which comes under. When I say about virtual environment backup, I refer to the backup and replication for your VMware and your backup and replication for your Microsoft Hyper-V servers, both the clusters and as well the standalone host. When I mention about the physical machine backup, I say about a disk image level backup for your Microsoft Windows machines. Either it could be the Windows Server machines or your Windows Workstation. So this is what is going to be the concentrated part today. So we are going to deal with the physical machine backup of Microsoft Windows. And then the granular level of backup, that is for backup of your file and applications, where you can back up your files folders that resides in your Windows, Linux or Mac operating systems. And there are applications like mostly around 6 applications, in which 5 applications of Microsoft are supported, and 6th one is a MySQL that we support. So, and after this, we have a backup for AWS. So using the cloud native APIs, we can take a backup of your AWS instances that you run in your own AWS cloud. And we have SaaS-based applications. When I say about SaaS-based applications, you can take a backup of your Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace to be backed up, and you can restore them. You can add them at a domain level, and you can restore them as an individual users at more granular level. And to the add-ons, we also have a part that satisfy your disaster recovery. One is your Vembu Offsite DR and Vembu Cloud DR. So in which you can store the secondary copy of your backup data to be stored in your locations. If it is going to be a secondary data location, you can put it in Vembu Cloud Offsite DR. You don't have a secondary data center, then you can put it in Vembu Cloud DR. This Vembu Cloud DR resides in AWS. So this is the outcomes on Vembu BDR Suite. Here is when I'm telling about this, it is going to be on a on-prem device. Okay. So you can have an hybrid deployment of this Vembu BDR Suite also. And then now the second one is the Vembu Cloud BDR Suite. As per the name it goes, you can have your backup data to be stored directly in Vembu Cloud. So you don't have to have a separate backup server to be deployed in your on-premise environment. So this is the main goal or the main base to bring up this product. This is coming as an initiative for all the end users mostly. So as of now, we have brought in the Vembu Cloud Backup for file and applications, which you can back up through a client, and you can send the data to the Vembu Cloud directly. You don't have to have a separate backup server for this Vembu Cloud. And then it is also the same for Vembu Cloud Backup for Microsoft 365. It is also through a client agent. And you also have Vembu Cloud Backup for AWS, which is coming up in version 5.0. That is the upcoming version. And then the Vembu Cloud Backup for Google Workspace is also coming in the upcoming version of Vembu 5.0, BDR version 5.0. But we are also trying to bring in some image level backups for your VMware, your Hyper-V, and your Microsoft Windows, which will be after our version 5.0 releases, one of the releases in the future. Okay, so this is the short outcome of what we are trying to plan and what is going to come in our version 5.0. That is an outsketch. Now, towards the topic, what's new in Vembu Backup for Microsoft Windows version 5.0? What we can do, and how do we protect our Microsoft Windows machine? So previously in the versions of VDR, you could see that the Vembu backup can be, Vembu can back up your Microsoft Windows at a disk image level. So it resides the same even now. So we are going to take a backup by pushing an agent, that is Vembu integration service, or we call that as Vembu backup agent. So that agent will back up the data and send it to the backup server. So this is the basic our structure, I could say, and architecture. So what is new? Apart from this, what is new in this Microsoft Windows version 5.0 of Vembu Backup? So we have some new features that has been incorporated. So now we have introduced something called as multi-host backup. Within a single backup job, you can add n number of physical hosts, and then you can take a backup. I'll just give you the outcome through the presentation. I'll just explain you what the thing is, and the live demo can be shown at the end. So as far as the multi-host backup is all about, you can create a backup job with multiple hosts, and you can run that parallelly, but this increases without affecting your performance of your backup. Okay, so this is what your multi-host backup is all about. Synthetic full backup is a new feature that has been included in this BDR version 5.0. So as you know, you'll be you can set your synthetic full backup at a weekly or monthly basis, where you will be merging the full backup on all its subsequent incremental backups in a backup repository itself. Okay, it will be a separate synthetic full backup that you can store. And then there is an application item level recovery. We did have an application item level recovery. Previously, you were doing it with universal tool of Vembu. Universal Explorer. So you with that you would have been done it. But with version 5.0, it's all the option that comes directly in the UI itself. So we given it in the UI itself. So most of the Microsoft applications can be restored at an item level. That is more granular level. And we have something called as instant boot live migration. So this is something new. If, for example, if you have taken a backup of your C and Z drive, that is your boot partitions. If you have taken a OS partition and boot partition as a backup, then you can restore that or you can instantly boot that as a virtual machine using instant boot recovery option that you can find in a restore section. But after you instantly boot, you can to a VMware environment. Obviously, if you boot that to a VMware environment, you can make that to be a complete separated, a permanent virtual machine which acts independently using this instant boot live migration option. So it is more of like a permanent migration process where your virtual or a physical machine, anything of that sort, that is backed up instantly or booted to the VMware environment can be made independent. Okay, so this is what your new feature of instant boot live migration is all about. Then you have something called as where it left off. So this is more of the connectivity. So if there is a backup job and if it is being interrupted, then you can, from the interrupted point, once your connection is restored, you can continue to take your backups. So that is what your where it left off feature, which is only for image level backups that we have produced, included into. And we have drive rotation. So it is more of disk rotation, which we all call about. So this helps you to use external hard drives for as your backup repository, where you can store your backup data and swap them on a periodic basis. Okay, and the GFS retention, the grandfather father son retention methodology that we have enhanced it. So actually, with this GFS retention, you can restore you can retain your recovery points on a weekly, monthly, yearly, as well as on a quarterly basis. Okay, so this can be taken up for your full backups, GFS for full backup, and there is a GFS for your incremental backups also. So we have provided with two options now. And backup job template. For example, this has been more of a customer's request. So we have included this backup job template where you can set a template. So based on the template, you can just keep on adding your backup jobs. So you don't have to each and every time create a backup job and backup job again and again. It's one template that you can float for other backups that you are going to give it in the future. So like this, you can create a number of templates. So this is basically for a predefined backup policies. For some such policies of backup like SLAs, and you can go with this option, which makes your job very quick. And yes, now we can see about the enhancements that we have made in this Vembu DR Suite version 5.0. So we have something called as you can initiate your restore and your backup process parallelly. Okay, so for example, if backup job is configured and at the scheduled time, if the backup is on process, you can continue to restore your backup data for the same backup job. So this is where you can parallelly balance both your backup and restore for the same backup job together. So that enhancement has been included in this version. And you can have a backup job and offsite copy to run parallelly. That can also be done for the same backup job. You have the enhanced UI and the UX. So you have a good user experience when you are using the product. And you can perform your bare metal restore. That is, you can build up your complete machine from the scratch, obviously to a similar hardware, using this Vembu Recovery CD for BMR. So using this Vembu Recovery CD, a free tool of Vembu, you can continue to do the bare metal restore process. And you have something called as backup window settings at backup job level. So you can particularly choose or constrain a backup job when it has to run and when it should not run. So you can choose that using this backup window settings. This is not at a global level. Now we have brought it up for individual job levels also. and you have backup throttling support for individual backups. You can set that as a global setup also. And you have file level recovery for dynamic disk backup. So as far as Vembu is concerned, the backup jobs when you take, it is going to be easy for basic disks. Okay. So, but if you go for a dynamic disk backup, obviously you can back up your dynamic disk, but it should you can restore them initially with only one recovery option, that is disk mount. But now we have also bought in this file level recovery support for dynamic disk backups, and we only support this NTFS format of backup jobs, disks with NTFS format. We don't support this exFAT and REFS file formats. Yeah, and we also have this encryption and compression to be disabled or enabled. If someone is using, if some of your customers, like if they use storage appliances like NAS or SAN, which comes with compression and encryption inbuilt, then you can disable this compression and encryption of the software, and you can go with the NAS or QNAP device that you're going to use. Okay. So yeah, we have come to the live demo session. Now I'll be taking you to a small tour with the new beta version of Vembu BDR version 5.0. So we have launched our beta version, and this beta program you can just try. You can just contact our sales, so they'll give you the beta link. You can try using the betas. If you have any feedback, you can just give it to us, and if it is valuable, we'll be using it. We'll be trying to fix that up before our general release, which is scheduled from a couple of months from now. Okay, so now I'm going to show a build of a beta one. I hope you can see my screen. So this is my so this is my beta version of BDR version 5.0. So I have already configured some disk image level backups. As you know, this Vembu BDR, once you ask us for the beta link, obviously we'll be sending you this for the trial purpose. So it's a web-based console, as everyone knows. It is this product is a web-based console. You just you can just install it on a backup server. That is, it can be this of Windows backup server. So once you install, it's a basic installation process. Once you install, you can view the web console. You can just use a browser to log into the web console. Okay. So maybe I can show you how it works. I just sign out. So this is my web console. You can log in with the IP address or the host name with 6060 as a port number. So once you have this 6060 as a port number, you can just log in with the default username and password like admin and admin. So once you log in, it will take you to the list backup jobs. So initially, if you're configuring this backup product initially, the first step will be you have to give a BDR ID. So we call it as unique BDR ID. So you have to give it a backup, a name for your backup server. That is your BDR backup server. So this is a unique BDR ID, which we call. After that, you have to configure your backup repository. So here I've configured a backup repository. We have block storage, which is coming up. So in this block storage, you can create a new backup repository from here. So here are the volumes, your local volumes of the backup server. So this is C, E, and F volumes of my local server on which my BDR has been hosted. So I can add a NAS drive or a SAN drive or any network attached drive as a volume by clicking on this add network drive as storage volume option. So with this, I can just click on read through the process where I can give the drive path, mount drive path of my NAS drive or a NAS folder or SAN folder. I can just give the drive path, a drive name for that, either G drive or X drive or whatsoever, and the username and password if required. And once you save, it will be listed as a volume in this session. So as a storage volume now. So here where I can pull in two of my backup storage volumes together and create a backup repository. Okay. So now I have created a backup repository with E. So like this, I can pull in any number of storage volumes, and I can create any number of backup repositories, and that is what is being mentioned here. So I've already created a backup repository. So here, as you could see, it's a scale out repository. So I can create a simple volume so that I can expand or scale its level of storage if I'm going with simple volume. If I'm going with scale out, then obviously I can scale in. I can add in a backup, I can add in as a storage volume as a backup repository at any point of time. Or there is some disk rotation. This is what I was mentioning about. If you have hard drives, and externally attached hard drive, then you can rotate those hard drive using this disk rotation option. So now we are going only with the scale out repository, which I have created already. Okay, so this is what your backup repository is all about. So once you set your backup repository, then you can set up your backup for your Microsoft Windows machines, because once your the repository is set, after you take a backup, all your backup data will come and reside in this backup repository, and you have this data source. So after you configure your backup repository, the next immediate step is your data sources. So you can just click on data source, add Microsoft Windows disk image backup. Okay, this is what you're going to add through. So when you click on it, you can add a Microsoft Windows by clicking on add Microsoft Windows machine. You can give the IP address or the DNS name of that particular machine which you are trying to take a backup. It could be a Windows Server machine or a Windows Workstation machine. Okay, a Windows Desktop or Workstation that we call. And along with the administrator credentials that you have to go with, you can add the credentials and save it. Once you save it, we use a port number 42005 to connect the target host with the backup server. So all your connections will be through this 42005. Okay, once you save, what happens is an Vembu backup agent will be pushed to that particular host, and only then after that you will be having the host to be added to your backup server. So I've added 3 of my hosts. So once I add my host, after that I can configure my backup. So to configure my backup, I can just go to my backup section, click on configure backup. I have Microsoft Windows. I've clicked on Microsoft Windows, and here I can create a backup job using a backup job name. Okay, so at the meanwhile, if you want to use it through a template, then you can create a backup job using a template. So I've already created a template, and just create a template using the option. Okay, so the creation of template can be done from the option, like click on backup, click on manage backup job template, and click on create new backup job template. So with this, you can create your backup job templates as of now. Okay, so and then you can proceed to do all your continuous process, which you're going to see in the backup process itself. So it's all going to be similar for your backup job and for creating your backup job template. So now we will concentrate on the backup job. So if you have an existing template, then you can use this create job using existing template option. So in the backup job section, you can just give a backup job name. For example, I'm just giving a backup job like test 1, and I'm going to store this in a repository which I have configured it to be the default one. If I want to add a new repository for only for this particular backup job, then I can add a backup repository from here. Okay, when I click on, I can add this backup repository. If not, I can just continue with the default repository itself. Or I can choose among the repositories if I have created another repository. So I can just give the backup job description if needed, and I can click on next schedule. So here I have all the 3 hosts that I've added here. So either I can take it as a multiple host backup, or I can take it as a single host. For example, if I just want to take only a backup of my single host, then I can just click on the option plus icon, and I can select the drives whichever I want to take a backup. So that is, for example, if you don't get this checkbox option, when you click on it, So this will be a pop-up that you get. So we don't support a backup of this drive because if the drive is of RES or FAT or exFAT format, then we don't support a backup of that. So, or if the volume has already been configured for backup, then obviously we don't support for that too. And if it is the volume is NTFS compressed, we don't support the backup for that. And then if the volume is NTFS folder mounted, then even then we don't support the backup for that. Okay, so in that case we don't support backup for those disks at on all these 4 cases that I've mentioned before. Or else I can choose one particular disk. So for example, these are the disks which I have. So I can choose one particular disk. Either I can take a C and Z drive together, so to take a continue of my backup. So initially, before I go on with this process, it will ask you to install the image backup driver. So when you install the image backup driver, the host machine, the target machine that you are trying to take a backup will be restarted, rebooted. Only then the backup drivers will go sit, and then you can try to take a backup from that. Okay, so if I'm going to choose one particular disk from this machine, one particular partition from this machine, I can take either a disk level backup or a partition level backup. Okay, so if I'm going to select disk 1, if I'm going to select all the partitions, that it's going to be disk level backup. Okay, I'm going to be very choosy. I'm going to choose only one partition, then only that partition will be shown up over here. So on the next, here is my guest processing. So if I am running any applications, it's generally for bigger machines. For example, if you are running any applications or server machines that you are running any Microsoft applications, then you can go with this enable guest processing settings. So you can just give when you enable it, you can just click on the action button. You can enable this process by taking application aware processing, which is recommended. So what we do is we'll make sure the applications are consistent, and then we'll take a snap of your machine. A snap of your disks. Or else you can ignore the application processing failures, or you can disable it and you can continue. When you enable it, obviously you will see this log truncation is also enabled for your applications like Microsoft Exchange and SQL. Okay. And if I want, I can choose which one to be disabled and enabled. And the next option here is file exclusion. So I can exclude system files such as pagefile.sys or hyperfile.sys from the backup job, so that it doesn't occupy much of my backup size of my data. Okay. So once I apply, it gets applied to it. Yeah, I've enabled this file exclusion. I have disabled log truncation. I have also disabled my application aware processing. Okay, so this is an optional option. If you want, you can enable, or else you can just continue with the next process. And next one is your scheduling part. Yeah, the next one is your scheduling part. So I can decide from how often I want to run my backup jobs. So here we have options like manually. So if I choose that manual option, whenever I need a backup job, I can trigger a backup job from my list backup section. Or one-time backup, where one time will be a complete full backup that you can organize to take at a scheduled time period. And if you want to run your backup out every few hours or minutes, then obviously you can start taking a backup from every RPO of 15 minutes. So that's what we have set it over here. So you can just keep your hard times to 00, and you can start to take your backup from 15 minutes with the minimum time period, and that you can extend to the number of minutes up to 60. So yeah, and here is a hourly basis which you can run up to 12 hours per day. And once you choose every few hours or minutes, and this is what your options that you get. And you have another option called daily backup. So every 24 hours there will be a backup automatically triggered. So here you can choose how the number of times that you want to run a backup job within a day, within 24 hours. So if I'm going to choose 2, I can set the backup start time for backup job. The first backup start time and the second backup start time can be set. Okay. For example, I can set it to 11. And we have also for weekly basis, we also have monthly basis, or I can be choosy enough to choose to run this particular backup job after another backup job is completed. That is like, if for example I've already configured a backup job, so this is going to be my initial backup. So once this disk image single host backup job is completed, I can start to take this particular backup job which I'm configuring now can be taken a backup, can be triggered with a backup job. And yeah, this is what the thing for scheduling of thing is, scheduling your backup process for your Microsoft Windows is. So obviously you have multiple scheduling options here. So when whatever you schedule, either whichever the option that you choose in your schedule, so the first backup will be a full backup followed by your incrementals. So your the change block tracking methodology, we track only the changes at a block level, and then those block changes at the block level will be backed up. So it's going to be a complete incremental based backup. And there is something of synthetic full backup. So if you need any synthetic full backup, then you can enable this, and you can configure it on a weekly or monthly basis, where you will have your synthetic backup to be configured, where your full backup will be merged, its subsequent incrementals will be merged together and will be stored in your backup repository itself. And we have another called additional full backup schedule. So if you want to run your additional full backups on weekly, daily, weekly and monthly basis, then you can configure this from here. So this is the additional full backup. And then we have the advanced schedule settings, like the backup time window. So you can choose, this is what I was talking to you about, the enhancement, where you can choose when to run your backup job, and that is, you can constrain the time limit when to run or when not to run your backup. So that you can go with the backup window option that we provide. You can either go with the global settings, that is a default one, or you can customize your settings, or you don't have a preference, you can just leave that up or go forward. Okay, but the default one is use global settings. And backup validity. So this particular backup job, how long you want to run, how long you want this to be active, you can choose that using this backup validity option. So you can start your backup job from this particular date, and you can set the expiry date for this particular backup job that you're going to configure. Okay, so this is all about your backup scheduling. So if you don't want your synthetic full backup or additional full backup to be configured, then you can just leave them to be disabled, and you can continue with the scheduling whichever you have set it before. And next is your general settings. Under the general settings, you have the retention option and encryption option. So when I set this retention, so without enabling this retention, what happens is every now and then you will have your backup to be run at your scheduled time period. So all those backup versions, or those backup versions can also be called as recovery points or restore versions. So all these restore points or recovery points or backup versions will be stored in the backup storage. So when you enable this retention option, you will have the you'll have your option to retain certain backup in your backups repository. So all those retained certain backups will be of the latest versions. Okay, so we'll merge the backup jobs to make sure that you have your retention to be enabled. So this is what you do. So you have two types, that is basic retention and GFS type of retention. In basic retention, you have two options where you can only have set the limit of retentions, where you can go up to 999 versions of retention points that you can store, or you can set it on day way, where you just have like for example, you just need 7 days of recovery points with maximum of 5 versions. So all those 5 versions in the 7 days will be there in your recovery point, in your storage repository, and those will be the latest recovery points always. Okay, and as I said, the GFS retention, the grandfather son methodology, where you have GFS with full backups and GFS with incrementals. Let's see about the full backups. If you're going to use this GFS for full backup, then make sure you have created additional full or a synthetic full backup in this case. Okay, so only then you can retain those on a weekly basis. You can retain them on a monthly basis. If you want, you can enable them for quarterly basis and retain them on yearly basis also. So this is for your full backups. If it is for your incrementals, then you can do the same, where you can retain it for daily copies, your weekly copies, your monthly copies, your quarterly, as well as your yearly. So whichever you need, you can just keep that set. Okay. So if you don't want to set any GFS, then you can just leave this alone, and you can continue with the basic retention option, and you can proceed further. The further proceeding, you have your encryption option. So when you enable this encryption option, all your data will be encrypted using AES 256-bit algorithm. Okay. So when you enable this data encryption option, obviously you have two options there. One is you can go with system generated, where the BDR backup server will be having its own key ID for that, or you can go with custom encryption key. So if you choose custom encryption key, you have to provide the password for that encryption data. So we call it as an encryption key. So make sure you don't forget this encryption key if you have to give it so, because once you forget, you can't restore your backup data. You can't edit your backup job. That is, you can't edit this configuration. You can't delete your backup job without giving the password. So make sure you don't forget the password. Okay. And yes, encryption, if you want, you can enable, or else you can just continue. And the last page is your review page. So here in the review section, you can review all the configurations that you have made, and then you can run. If you click on this check icon to run this backup job immediately after saving, and you can save this backup job. Once you save, your backup job will be listed down in the list backup section. So I've already configured 2 backup jobs in that basis, and the reports of the backup job can be checked over here in the action section itself. So you can see it has taken a backup of 10.96 GB of data, which is being backed up using the backup job. And if you want to manually run or on demand any backup jobs, then you can click on the schedule now option. So you have these 2 rocket-like icons. So you can just click on this icon, where you can run a demand full incremental backup or an additional full backup. You can schedule it and give schedule now. So what happens is, this time period, this particular time period, it will start taking a backup. So this is what the backup is. And another one, the multi-host backup. I just want to show you the tree. So if this is a host that I've added. So in this, I can select the host from here. I can also select the disk from here, and I can also select the disk from here too. So I've already configured that as a backup. So this is how your distribution of the tree will be. So you can take multiple backups, and you can go on with the same procedure which I have just showed you before. Okay. So this is what your backup part for your Microsoft Windows is all about. And here you have your recovery section. So when you click on the recovery tab, click on recovery backup data. So you can have the restore icon shown here. So all your backup data's original size will be shown here, and the compressed size will be shown over here. So you can change this compressed size details from the settings section. So you have configure backup settings. Here you have data compression level. So when you click on data compression level, you can just see it in the screen. So here it is at an optimal level. So you can edit it, and you can set that to be in a high level or low level. So whichever it is. So it will be affecting the complete backup server. So if you set it to low level, all the backup jobs next to it, which is scheduled next to it, will be at a low level of compression. Or if you set it to high, it will go with a high level. By default, it will be at the optimal level. Okay. So when I click to restore, I have multiple options to restore here. One is instant boot VM. So using this option, I can instantly boot my data. I can select the host. I can instantly boot my data as a virtual machine. So basically for this, you should have taken a backup of your boot partition drives. So once those boot partition drives are taken a backup, then obviously you can boot that as a virtual machine. So here is my full backup. If it is an incremental, then obviously it will be listed down. So you can choose your restore point from this drop down section. So once done, I've chosen a timestamp here. So here is my disk. So I can choose the complete disk to be restored, or if it is a partition, I can choose a particular partition to be restored. Okay, but here it is C and Z drive together. I'm just choosing that, and I can either restore them on a VMware or I can restore them on a Hyper-V machine, Hyper-V host. So if it is a Hyper-V host, make sure the BDR backup server, if installed on a Windows machine, should be the Windows machine should be enabled with a Hyper-V role in it. Only then it will be booted as a virtual machine in that local hypervisor, hosted hypervisor. VMware, you can select the target server of the VMware ESXi host or vCenter, and you can select the target data store. You can give a target VM name in which it has to be named, and you can just power on the VM automatically, and you can give next. So once you do that, your data will be restored as a virtual machine. Okay, though you have taken a disk image level backup, you can restore that as a virtual machine. And next one is disk or partition level recovery. So here it is like a permanent restore option where you can restore the backup disk or partition level to the backup server. So you can restore that to the backup server. The backup data of the disk can be restored to the backup server, where when it is getting restored, it should be formatted. The disk should be formatted. And disk mount is also somewhat similar to this instant boot VM. So it will instantly mount the backup data through the disk management service of Windows. Okay, so through the disk management service of Windows, it will instantly boot the backed up data to the backup server. So you can browse through all the files and folders within that disk, and you can unmount the disk whenever it is of use. So you can do all your read and write process through that disk also, the mounted disk. And download disk. So with this option, this is of migration option, which we call. So you can convert your backup data, whichever you're taking a backup, you can convert the disk format in any of the virtual file formats. So you can restore them as VHT or VMDK, VHDX, flat VMDK, and RAW. So all these 5 formats are there. You can restore them or download them in any of that format, and you can store them in the destination shown here. Obviously, the destination here is the backup server destination. You can restore them at the backup server end. And with that, you can boot up them as a virtual machine or a complete new disk. As a disk, you can attach that to a new machine. And file level recovery is a granular level of recovery. So you can choose particularly like whichever the file or folder that you want to restore, instead of restoring the complete machine. So as you could see, like I have there are 2 partitions here. So I just want only one file from here. So I'm just choosing that file. I have a recovery file here. So only that file I just want to choose. I can take a complete folder level restore or only one at a file level restore. Either of the thing can be done. Okay. So I can restore. I can choose a destination end. And if I enable this compression option, it gets restored to that destination. And if I want a password for this compression, then I can encrypt this password. I encrypt the compressed data with a password, and you can restore. So what happens is it will be restored to that destination folder. So this is what your file level recovery is all about. And as I told you, like the application item level recovery. So which you can restore the 4 of the applications like Microsoft Exchange Server recovery, Microsoft SQL Server recovery, Microsoft Active Directory recovery, and Microsoft SharePoint recovery. So all these 4 applications of Microsoft, you can restore them at a granular level. You can follow the prerequisites, whichever like that has been given here for your understanding, and you can continue to restore. So this is a type of restore options that I've told you. These are the multiple recovery options that you will get for every backup data. But if you have taken a dynamic disk backup, then obviously there will be only 2 recovery options. One is if you have taken a dynamic disk as a backup, then one is your disk mount and another one is your file level recovery. So these 2 recovery options will only be available. Okay, and then regarding the instantly mounted data or disk mount data, so you can just manage them from the manage virtual Vembu virtual drive option. So I have mounted the data. So I have mounted it on, I have performed an instant boot recovery, and I have mounted it on a targeted ESXi host. So I can unmount it or mount it from here. So once I mounted it, it's a temporary usage, and I can unmount it from here. So for those temporarily instantly booted virtual machine, you can make them as a permanent machine, that is instantly boot live migration. For those that have been instantly booted on a VMware environment, it can be you can perform live migration using that. So you can just go to recovery option and click on manage instantly booted VMs option. Once you click on here, this is the machine that I have mounted it instantly. I have instantly mounted it on a ESXi host. I can migrate it. I can migrate it as a permanent ESXi to a targeted ESXi VMware server. Okay, so this is for permanent thing. So once I migrate it, what happens is it cuts the connectivity between the backup server and the machine that you have lively migrated. So these are the recovery options that we provide for Microsoft Windows. So this is the same even for your Microsoft Server or Microsoft Workstation backup. So all the process is going to be the same. If it is going to be a workstation backup, then obviously while trying to add a Microsoft Windows disk image backup here, while trying to add the host, if you give the IP address and select the credentials and save it, you if it is a workstation, you will get a pop-up where it will ask you to install the Vembu integration service manually on the host that you are trying to take a backup, only for Windows workstations. Okay, so which workstations or desktop or laptops which don't have an admin privilege, or there's even some of the servers which doesn't have administrator privilege, then you have to download the VIS manually. You will get a pop-up here. You will have to download the VIS manually, and you can go install it manually, and you can configure the backup data backups from here, from the backup server. But installation of the agent will be done manually. Whereas if it is a server with admin privilege, then obviously Vembu backup server will push the Vembu integration service, that is the Vembu backup agent, directly to the targeted host. Okay, so this is what the data that we have, and we also have this tape archive. So you can save your or archive your backup data for longer period of time. Okay, through this tape archive, we support LTO generation 3 and above, and we also support only the standalone, only the auto-loaded host of tape libraries. And we have a decent reporting section where you will get to see all the backup job details that you have configured. So you have the dashboard, you have the details that gives you when the backup is run and what is the reason for failure. All these details will be listed down in this report section itself. And you have the host level detail also. So for that particular host, you can check on the detail section, and you also have the history detail for that. You can check on the history of the detail. So initially the full backup was success, and later there was an error, and the error detail is also mentioned here. You can check on that. why the error has happened, or we give it along with the KB article. You can check on the KB article why the error has occurred. Okay, so it is more of a self-explanatory on, and you also have the data recovery reports, and you also have this data integrity check. So for enabling this data integrity check, you have to go to the configure backup settings, and you can enable this backup data integrity. So which is enabled, basically it will be by default enabled for enterprise editions. So when you enable this, what happens is at every 1 day, automatically your backup data will be taken from the backup repository. It will be booted, and the boot screen of the data, it will be mounted first, and then it will boot the screen, and the boot screen of the data will be taken a snap, and it will be stored in the report section. So this is to make sure that before you perform your recovery, it should you can check this up so that you can know the integrity of the image level data that you have taken a backup. Okay, so this is the data integrity option. And we also have offsite DR, but we have disabled this in a beta version. So offsite DR, as I told you, like if you want to have a secondary copy of your data, you can use this offsite DR. So the secondary copy of your backup data will be stored in your offsite location. Either it could be a remote office or a branch office, where you can install this Vembu offsite DR server over there and connect that IP address of the offsite DR server to the BDR backup server. So the secondary copy of your backup data from the backup server will be replicated and stored in the repository of the offsite DR server. If you don't have a secondary server, then you can put it in Vembu Cloud DR server. When Vembu Cloud, there is a limitation in your recovery option. For image level backups, there will be only 2 recovery options. One is downloads option and file level recovery. Even in downloads, there's 2 formats, file formats that you could download. One is VHD and another one is VMTK. Only these two file formats for the data that is getting, secondary data that is getting stored in Vembu Cloud DR space. Okay, so yeah, and you can perform all your SMTP settings. Yeah, you have the SMTP settings even for your email notifications. You can enable this email notification, so you can configure your SMTP settings over here by giving the details. And once you save, you can enable this. So what happens is all the alerts through email will be notified to you to a particular email ID of yours, so that you will get your alerts instantly. And these reports with all its details will help you to comply with international standards of GDPR and HIPAA and much more. Okay, and you can even download these reports for your internal audit purpose. And in management, we also have this group policy. So if you have multi-tenancy to be enabled, then you can use this group policy to manage all your backup servers. If you have multiple, or if you are taking a backup through client, then you can manage this. And yes, if you have multiple hosts, like you have around 200 to 300 backup server, that is your Windows servers or your Windows machine, then you can download the client. You have the client download option. You can download the client from here, or we'll just give you that link. You can download the client and you can install those clients in that particular machine. Those clients will take a backup and it will send the backup data to your backup repository at the backup server end. So I hope I have covered most of the sources. And yes, at last I have just wanted to show you this concurrent backup, so you can run number of tasks side by side. Can be like if you are configured Microsoft Windows backup as well as a Microsoft Hyper-V backup or a VMware backup whatsoever, you can run your backup jobs on a parallel basis. So these are the things about the new version or the safeguarding your Windows Server or workstation through your BDR version 5.0. So this is a complete new UI which has completely changed the experience. So with this backup server, you can also configure your AWS backup, Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, or your endpoint backups. That is more like a granular level of backup where you can check on the backup data. So for example, while you're going to add the backup, so you have to download the BDR client. So this file or endpoints or application backup will be only through a client agent. So you can download the client for Windows, Linux, or Mac even. So you can download the client and you can install it on the targeted host, and from there you can take a backup. But for now, since we are concentrating only on Windows backup, Windows machine backup, you can just go with the add Microsoft Windows backup option itself, where you can add your Microsoft Windows from the backup server and manage them directly from the backup server. So hope we have come to the end of the live demo which we are showing so far. So, and yes, I could see like question and answers session. I've seen that the poll box has been completely filled up, and colleague is trying to answer it. If it is not answered, do not worry. We'll be sending you an email where you can find your answers for all your questions that you have asked for. So yeah, thank you everyone. So if you need any link of your beta version where you want to just have a hands-on experience of the BDR version 5.0, you can just contact us. Either send an email to our sales at vembu-sales@vembu.com, or you can send an email to vembu-support@vembu.com. They'll share you the link, download link of the beta. You can get it, or you can just contact us through the numbers which has been flashed over here. You can find us even in our website. So all up-to-date details will be tuned in our website, so you can just always stay tuned with our website to find more details. And there is a complete webinar series that is running for version 5.0, so you can even join there to get instant updates on it. So thank you for the session. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay happy. Thank you.